strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ. Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for
kind of animal?
If that was years and years and years ago. Like, Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was back in.
Thanks to those joining me live, and to those that'll be joining me on our
defenses that she's had to have recently. You know, she's pulled people.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the RoundTable of tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just don't think it has to be.
I don't know what he think he sees or what he think he know. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, Adisal, you mentioned him versus Regis Program. I'd love that. Sounds like a
I don't need you, you know, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship.
Flat out, it's tough, and we call box, and we go to the end of the round, and then
that will say, what do you mean by acting black? That's a fair question, but a participant of trash talk knows.
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now, and he ain't gonna fight. I bet you anything, he's not gonna fight somebody as good as John Ryder. Thanks to those joining me live and those that will be joining us here on the archive. And it's an archive. Make sure you hit the like button. It should be a really good show. Slow week for boxing, but nonetheless, we're going to have some conversations. We're 3 weeks away from the 200th episode of the Roundtable. We're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. The sun even came down when I said that. You see that? But let's get this one started. A couple of things. First, it's kind of like I'm not going to say breaking news because it's rumors right now, but I'm looking at the internet and I heard that Zepeda ain't going to do the Stevenson fight because he's going to have a baby, and I'm hearing all this stuff, but it's coming out. There's rumors he might fight Kambosos. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on here. So Zepeda, Kambosos, if that were to happen later in the year, this ain't November, B, but what do you think of that? And is it a bad look, given the fact that, you know, he was giving all these excuses why not to fight Shakur?
Yeah, it's a bad look. All that stuff you just said about him having his wife having the baby and him not fighting Shakur because of that, I didn't even know any of that stuff. I just assumed that down the line that they were going to make that fight because Turki Al-Sheikh was talking about it, Oscar De La Hoya was talking about it, but I'm guessing that it's got to be something with his management who's probably steering him in another direction. And I think it's a horrible look, to be honest with you. Kambosos is coming off a knockout loss to Lomachenko. Devin Haney beat him soundly a couple times in a row. And who was the fight before the Lomachenko fight?
Max Hughes?
Maxie Hughes. I thought he lost that fight too. I had him losing that fight 115, 113. So, yeah, I just think Kambosos, with all due respect, is not somebody at this stage I think Zepeda should be fighting. I was hoping for the Shakur fight. If not the Shakur fight, then, you know, somebody else. The other champion, the Ukrainian champion that just won a title. And why not even him? But for him to not even go for a title shot, it's crazy.
Well said, well said. Max, how's it going, brother?
Oh, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to see all of you guys once again. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be on. When it comes to Zepeda, it's a bad look on his end because if he's claiming that he's not going to fight Shakur due to having a baby, why is he getting in the ring in general right before the year ends? He might as well just wait till the year closes and return beginning of next year. But for him to say he's having a baby and not fight Shakur while still fighting someone that's nowhere near Shakur's level is just a very off look, and it definitely seems like Shakur Stevenson just wasn't the fight that he wanted. And as previously mentioned, if he was going to fight someone other than Shakur, there's a lot better options than George Kambosos. I mean, George Kambosos has a foot out the door. He just got stopped by Lomachenko. What's he going to really do in a bout against Zepeda? So either Zepeda should wait, like he claimed, because he's having a baby, or bite down the bullet and fight Shakur Stevenson like we expected him to.
What's it? Manny, what do you make of it, brother?
I mean, I don't. I think he's just probably thinking right now. There's a lot in stake when you're adding a new member in your family, especially a baby, and there's a lot of dedication you got to do. That a lot of support you have to do your spouse and be there. And I just don't think right now he's going to be 100% in the game to be training to that. I'm not saying he's taking Cambosos slightly, but at the same time, it might not be a something that he can put too much into it and just continue to juggle things around and spend time with his wife and spend time with his training and things of that. So being with Camboso would allow him to be able to kind of juggle those things and be part of both things, and at the same time doesn't have to commit 110%. Having to commit with Shakur, having the fight with Shakur, you have to be there. You have to part ways with your family, with your friends, with everything. And so I just don't think right now for him that's his mindset at this time. So I mean, he needs to stay active. Definitely, that's something very important. But I think right now that I agree with Max. I think you got to take off. You just take care of business, and then you kind of come back. But at the same time, staying active, I think is more important for a boxer. And so I think that's the way, in my opinion, he's kind of looking at it.
Manny just described like, well, Cambosos is a piece of cake, so he could focus on his kids still, right? And
right. I mean, that's he's not the level that Shakur is, and I think to be able to beat Shakur Stevenson, you have to put 110% of that. And so going with Camboso, he might have taken him slightly, but at the same time, he's like, hey, I can beat this guy, and I truly believe it. I truly believe that he can definitely beat Camboso easy, and so he doesn't have to put a lot of effort into that.
Before I go to Mario, Remy, salute ATP in France. Hey, I appreciate it, brother. And of course, for Remy again, I appreciate it. He says, my youngest was a month old when I was deployed. All right. And we definitely appreciate your service, brother. And shout out to you.
Man, that nigga that Japanese guy was in shape.
All right. I heard Remy's in shape, is what I heard. You know what I mean? Hey, Mario Munguia from Fighting Hub. How's it going?
Oh, champ, I stay on mute. I'm doing good, man. We're doing real good. Been staying active, doing the lives, doing the shows. Appreciate to everybody in this community that's come over to show me support in my community. That's why I said it a long time ago. It was never a jab to anybody I worked with, TBV, nobody. I just felt like this community was one of the best. And so shout out to everybody there. What's up, champ? It's good to be here. Manny, what's going on? Be the champ, Mighty Max in the house too. That's what's up. Great to be part of this panel.
Hey, so Mario, do you share the same enthusiasm for Zepeda Cambosa's potential matchup?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you why. The problem is not Zepeda. The problem is Oscar De La Hoya. That's the problem, okay? At the end of the day, Zepeda has shown us so much in the ring that he has shown us that he's valuable no matter what he's doing. Now, of course, I agree with everybody that Shakur isn't that opponent, or that opponent isn't Shakur. What opponent is Shakur, though, right? At this stage, if you look at everything that's gone on with PBC, and this isn't to pick on any PBC fighters or nothing like that, I'm just saying activity, like Manny said, has been the most detrimental aspect of PBC careers. Charlos, Spence, Kid Chocolate, if you want to bring it that far back. Even Daniel Jacobs, a person who was actually active, was kept inactive at a time where it might have benefited when he eventually started fighting more and more and better competition. Where we are right now with Zepeda is he has a promoter who I think he's lost his mind. Like, he seems so much more dedicated to upping his own brand and doing things that steal clicks. And because he can't do it when it comes to announcing fights, and because he can't do it when it comes to announcing big fighters, he has to do these stupid things. But if it was just that would be okay. But then he says stuff like, Zepeda ain't never fighting Shakur. Shakur should have came onto this side of the road. Man, that's the bullshit that we put up with Top Rank and Golden Boy during the HBO days. The shit that started the Cold War. Okay, so we're already in a position where boxing feels like shit right now because there's no fights really made, and we're in this huge lull. And so what we're going to do is what? We're going to take the most exciting fighters and keep them off of the schedule, period, just because they're not fighting the best. At the end of the day, Cambosos, any of those guys, are great names to just have on the resume by the time you do get to a Shakur or a Tio, whoever.
Okay. Look, this weekend, and well said, everybody. This weekend, we're gonna have a pretty decent fight card. To be honest, this is as good as we get for free now in the zone. All the good stuff, if anything, they put it behind a bigger paywall now. But nonetheless, we're gonna get Pacheco, Diego Pacheco. In my opinion, a step up fight against Suleki. Suleki's 2 losses are to Danny Jacobs and to Dimitri Andrade. Okay, those are his 2 losses. And so to me, it's a step up for Pacheco. And depending on how he wins this fight, it's going to really determine where we could kind of put him next. Like, what's the next step or next logical step, depending on this performance. Are you guys expecting a real test for Pacheco or even possibly an upset here? Mario, I'll take it back to you.
Hey, you know I stay on mute. I care about that quality, that audio quality. Listen, champ, I think it's sad to say, but this is Pacheco's night. This is his opportunity to stand tall in this. And even though Suleki is obviously the best opponent that he's faced, or perhaps the toughest test, let's call it stiffest test, right? He's 1 fight away from being, the most in demand, and I say that in quotes and sarcastically, fight for Canelo. There's nobody left. Everybody that we would have wanted to see him going up to 175. Canelo's made it very clear by now he's not going to chase anybody. Whether that's a ploy to get out of that fight or whether he just realizes after Bivol that he has no business at 175. I don't know. I'm not speculating. All I am saying is that ultimately, this is a fight that Pacheco, none of us should have been looking at this fight as, oh, this is the person that could be fighting Canelo. It very well could be the next guy that fights Canelo. So this is everything that he has on the line. And Pacheco has shown fun moments. He's just never done it against anybody that would make you even remotely think he has a chance against Canelo, let alone better chance than a David Benavidez or Morrell. So I think that because he has everything to lose and everything to gain, because it's more important, because Suleki sounds more like he's playing spoiler in the fight than he really sounds like he's going out there based on some of the interviews I've heard. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a really fun fight. I do. If Pacheco can put together a good enough performance, I can't see how he's not on that short list. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's sad. I'm not saying he should be. I'm just saying I don't see who's left.
All right. I'm sorry. Manny Marrero. Talk to us, man. Pacheco, what do you anticipate is going to happen in the Suleki fight? Is it going to be a test for him here, or can you see an upset?
I don't see an upset, to be honest. I think there's 4 guys right now in the division after Canelo, and that is Berlanga fighting against Canelo now in September, and you got Billy. You got Pacheco and you got Jaime Mejia, right? So to keep him active and to ante up a little bit more of his opposition and his opponent, I think this will be a very good fight. A fighter that has 34 years old and also has got some experience with some of the names, Bubu Andrade and also as well Dan Jacobs. So this is an opportunity for him to showcase himself and see maybe you can land some of these big fights. He's not going to fight Canelo, that's for sure. But I think he can definitely have an opportunity to fight someone else, in that, I'd love to see Christian and Bailey. Those 2 guys will be neck to neck. I mean, these are the top of, once Canelo leaves out of the division, these are the guys that are going to take over, knowing that Morrell just moved up to 175. I don't think he's ever coming back down. And so who's going to be the successor of this division? And in my opinion, that's going to be Diego Pacheco. But you have to go through the process. You have to go through each, some of these opponents that got a little bit more experience to see what you have in the distance. And I think it's going to be a tough one. But, at the end of the day, Diego is charming. He's people like him a lot. And he's exciting. He's just a nice kid that, we want to see him evolve. We want to see him progress. And the only way to do that is bring these opponents into him and, kind of fix some of those things that he's got. I mean, sometimes he takes too many chances. And, with some of these fighters, you got to be cautious with that. And so I want to be able to see what other things Diego Pacheco has available to be able to, a combat when he's got that opportunity for a major big fight. So, the sad thing about it, he's going to have to wait for a while before he becomes a world champion. And that will be unless they strip Canelo out of the belt, or Canelo moves up or retires. And so that's the case here. But other than that, this is a good chance, and it's not free. D style, I pay $250 a year. All right, now I still got to pay pay-per-views when I watch the Zone, so it's not free.
Damn, he said he's behind a paywall.
Yeah, it's just one pay, not double pay. It's not
that's
pay.
a double paywall right there.
I mean, tell me about it, bro.
I call it triple because they still charge like $80 or whatever. But hey, Joe Beeb, what are you expecting? Gotcha, Joe Beeb. What are you expecting in this matchup? Do you see Pacheco passing with flying colors, and what would you like to see next from him if he gets past it?
I always wanted to see him fight Munguia. I think that would be a great fight right now. Some may say that's a little bit too much too soon, but I don't think so. I think Pacheco's got a lot of potential. I like his style. He's got a very fan-friendly style. A lot of volume. Does mix it up a little bit. He can fight on the outside and the inside. Likes to go to the body. So he is an aggressive guy. Not the greatest defensively, but again, sometimes you like those types of fighters who like to take risks and make the fight fun to watch and interesting. Suleki always makes a good account of himself. He's definitely the type of guy that can give you rounds. Had a very tough fight with Gabe Rosado back in the day. And then, he always comes to fight. He never lays down for anybody. And he's a little bit crafty. He's tricky. He's a veteran. So I think that Pacheco could have a tough fight. I don't think it'll be easy, but he should get the nod in this one. But it's a good test for him at this stage of his career. I don't think this is a walkover for him. He's going to have to earn it.
Okay. Mighty Max, how do you think this fight's going to play out? And assuming you got Pacheco, winning, if he wins the way you're expecting, what would you like to see next?
Yeah, I have Pacheco definitely winning this one. I have very little interest in this one because I feel it's such an easy fight for Pacheco at this point. I think Suleki a few years back would have made it very tricky. I was actually pretty high in Suleki before people even knew him. I remember when he stopped Hugo Centeno, when Hugo Centeno was still a prospect, and I thought he was a very solid, slick fighter. We saw his bout against Danny Jacobs years ago. But at this point, I feel Pacheco's probably going to get him out of there in around 6 rounds. And assuming he does what I expect him to, or even just gets the win in general, I'm not exactly sure what's next for Pacheco. I feel like he is one of the better guys in the weight class, obviously. I don't think he's on Billy's level quite yet. I would pick him to beat Berlanga, funnily enough. But I feel with Pacheco, I'm not exactly sure. Probably a title eliminator, and maybe 2 to 3 fights, he'll get a title shot. I don't think the Canelo fight will ever happen. I think by the time Pacheco's fighting for a belt, Canelo will have likely vacated or been stripped at that point. But I feel like the 168 division has had a huge fall from grace. I feel like the weight class is going to be wide open once Canelo Alvarez is gone.
I agree. I think what I would like to see, I'm expecting him to win by knockout and win in decisive fashion. Like Mighty Max mentioned, this is an older Suleki, but with a lot of experience, but still older. I actually would like to see Pacheco win there with a former world champion of some sort. I actually wouldn't mind. I don't know if he's still active or not, but like maybe an Anthony Durrell, something like that, I think would be a good option, just so he could have that former world champion under his belt before he actually contends for a title. I know he's already a contender, but I mean like actually like fight for a belt.
I think a good name would actually be Carlos Gongora or Ali Akhmedov. Yeah. I think those are some good fights for sure.
Akhmedov would be definitely a good one. See, but that's the problem I'm having right now. It's like, B made a good mention of a Jaime Munguia fight, and it feels like with Suleki, and I'm not even picking on this fight or Pacheco or even Eddie Hearn in general, even though I think he's done it the most, but it feels like this is a moment where they can see in the distance, okay, here's a fight we can make. It's kind of like Canelo when he was really young and he, before the Mosley fight, and they could see the Mayweather writing on the wall. It feels like there is just a push or a movement. Maybe it's consorted by Eddie or DAZN or I don't know, but it just feels like this is a chance for them to get Pacheco a win over a guy that nobody is going to be able to disrespect and just say he's a bum, but also a guy who, like Mighty Max said, is, not the same guy that would have caused him a test years ago. It just feels like they're trying to get him the win to slide him in there for a big fight, right? So that they can make all these points as to why Pacheco deserves that big money fight, when all it really is about keeping in-house money.
Well, we're going to see where it goes. And that'll be that. So another fight happened. This will be Tuesday morning for us. And it's going to be Inoue and is it Doheny? Like, how the hell do you pronounce his name?
Doheny, TJ Doheny.
It's Doheny? Okay. So Inoue Doheny. Now, look, I'm not going to insult anybody's intelligence by asking you guys who do you think's going to win, okay? But with Monster Inoue expected to win, you could see the title of the video. What do you want to see next from the Japanese monster here? Because there's so many options. I've heard so many things, and I don't even want to put anybody's ideas out there. I'll kind of let you guys go from there. Mighty Max, let's start with you. What would you like to see next after this fight for Inoue?
Yeah, so for Inoue, what he needs to do personally is I think he still needs to defend that undisputed belt a couple more times. I think there's still some good fights in the weight class. Unlike 168, I feel like this is actually a pretty intriguing weight class for me. You have Sam Goodman, who defeated Rais Salim and is a nice, solid contender who I think would be a fun fight. Even though, first of all, I think Inoue destroys all these guys, but I still want to see the fights. And then the main one that I've been wanting to see before Louis Neri, I don't think Neri deserved the fight. I apologize for my dog barking in the background. It should have been Murujan Akhmadaliev. I felt like the Akhmadaliev fight should have happened. I thought he beat Topalis, and that's the fight we've all wanted to see for a long time, even before Fulton was unified. So that's what I'd want to see next for Inoue. Let him beat those two guys after he knocks out Doheny in the 3rd or 4th round. And after that, after he clears out the weight class and has a very dominant and brief but dominant undisputed run, then he should move up in weight.
So you said 3rd or 4th. If you had to pick one round, what round is he going to knock him out?
I'm going to go for round 3. I'm going to go for round 3.
Okay. Mario, what round? And what do you want to see next from Naoya Inoue here?
I'm going to say round 5. And the only reason I'm going to say round 5 is for the last like 6 fights with them, I've picked the round wrong by 2. And so I'm going to go, except for the Fulton. I didn't get that right even close. So my pick is 3, like Max, honestly, but I'm going to add the 2, so that I can beat my own curse. But that said, look, I think that what we have come to expect from these shows is what we can get from these shows. And what I mean is that they come on at the times they come on the days they come on, and they are catered to us, right? This audience, very, very curated by ESPN Plus in who they marketed to and how they marketed it. As far as like what he can do next, look, I'm not in any hurry to see him do any one thing. I think that the biggest types of fights, like I'm talking about like $1 million potential paydays, like millions in America or an American going over. I mean, those are fights that are far and few between still. Like, he's probably not going to see anything like that for years. So in the meantime, he can continue to up his legacy. And all I see are badass fights that I want to see with the Inoue. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm with Max's point as far as him continuing to defend the belt, the undisputed belt, only because it might be in this particular situation it works best, but if you look at everybody else that is ever unified, I mean, it's usually like the quick jump up, right? There's no, to quote wrestling, there's no money in defending the belt. The money is in the chase. And that's true for boxing and MMA as well. And so what I want to see is I want to see him get deeper into the American market. I know that they've tried. I know that they've had some successes. I think they can push him harder to the point where we are demanding those, huge fights, those big money fights, and they feel like it. Because nobody's going to feel like a big Inoue fight. That's not going to feel like a Tank fight. It's not going to feel like a Canelo fight, not to Americans. So he has to do something that shifts that kind of narrative.
Okay. Joe Beeb, what round, or do you think it goes the distance? I don't know. What round, what do you personally, what do you want to, if it was up to you, what does Inoue do next?
The Akhmadaliev fight's probably the next fight. I would think it's probably the only other fight that's really for me left in the division, in my opinion. I'd like to see Nakatani come up and take on Inoue. That would be a great fight. I would like that. Eventually, I think he'll go to 126, but I'm not 100% sure. I think he can do okay there, but I'm not sure if he'd be as dominant at 126 as he is at 122. But that's even more fun for him to go up there and not be dominant, right? The fights become more interesting at 126. So that may be the move in order for him. But I think Nakatani could definitely give him some run. That would be a really, really good fight on paper. I think Nakatani, I'd probably still favor Inoue, but Nakatani, I think, would definitely test him. Definitely test him. More so than he's been tested thus far. So.
All right. Okay. Makes sense. All right. Hey, Manny Marrero. So, actually, Beeb, what round?
I'm going to be a copycat. I'm going to say round 5, too.
Round 5? Okay.
I like round 5. That's a good number.
Shout to Calix. I'll be going to you next. Manny Marrero in vivo. Tell us here in vivo what round. Right, you're Nostradamus. You're Manny Nostradamus. What round is Inoue going to knock him out? And you tell me, if it was up to you, if you were in control, you're the puppet master. What's next for Inoue?
It's a fight. I don't really care. I'm gonna get up early, and it's gonna be a short fight. First of all, I was thinking round 2, but keep in mind that TJ has never been knocked out. So he had a really good fight against Sam Goodman, which is a fight that I actually want to see. Once it beat Nettie, it's like, what's next? We did talk about that, Sam Goodman. And I think that Max made a really good point in terms of, Marajan. He will be another really good fight for him. But, at the same time, there's nothing right now stable for him in terms of moving up real quickly rather than just going into defending his belt right now, staying active into that. I think in round 4, I was going to say 2, but 4, I think it'll probably be pretty good just to kind of get him through it. Keep in mind that, Inoue started really strong against Neri and got knocked down real quickly. And so he came back and recover again. So how much of that is TJ going to be able to do for Inoue to really have him catch up and pick up real quickly? Keep in mind, Inoue feeds up from his opponent. The more you give him, the more he gives you back. And so I'm not sure how those first 2 rounds, 3 rounds are going to look. I think he's going to be very, very cautious at the beginning. He's going to be not too aggressive. And unless Inoue really starts real quickly and, says, I'm going home already. Goodbye. Good night. So in terms of him after this fight, he can definitely move up. I've always said that he's going to get up into 126 and he's going to be very successful. Right now, the landscape looks really good up there, and I think he can definitely contend against some of these guys. And even before Robeisy lost his fight, I would have loved to see that fight. And that's a fight that I still want him to see. Is he going to jump on quickly to 126 after this fight and fight a champion, either whether it's Nick Ball, even the interim, Brandon Figueroa, Ray Vargas, or Luis. I'm not sure, but I think he's got to test the water still. I'm not sure they're going to bring him up real quickly as a super champ, and quickly he's going to get a title fight. But for me, I'd like to see that fight, Robeisy, even though he took a loss in this last fight. But right now, honestly, this is just a fight to keep him active and see what he can do and excite his people. Hopefully they can clap harder. The more this guy fights, the more, the lucky are the people who are watching this amazing monster, because it's once in a lifetime, a boxer that you see with generational talent, such as Inoue. I'm hoping that I can eventually, one time, I can go see this guy in person.
So before I go to Mario, before I go to Calix, something I want to address that Mario said, and I, I'm an American, obviously, and I live here, and I would love the opportunity to watch Inoue if he ever fought here, right? I would love that.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, that would be him doing us a favor, because we ain't doing him any favors. He literally, and I think us as American fight fans need to get used to this. there's going to be fighters now more than ever that literally do not need the United States of America.
Yep.
That they're not going to need the American market. That's the reality. This guy does $20 million gates. He took Neri over there. They packed the freaking Tokyo Dome. There's posters of him in every public square. I mean, this guy's a superstar in Japan, and in what is like one of the top 3 biggest economies in the world. Like, this is not a third world country that we're talking about. Literally, and not to mention the rest of Asia around it.
Yeah.
Like, Inoue is a superstar, and he don't need us. He doesn't need us.
But just to keep the debate alive, Chris John was in the same place. Remember that, Beeb? Chris John was one of the most over boxers in all the world.
Though.
How many people? But that's what I'm trying to say. No. And I'm not comparing the money, not at all. I agree with everything
don't got
you
the
said.
money Japan's got.
But that's what I'm trying to say, though. But listen, you're Floyd Mayweather, you're Inoue, you're Tank. It don't matter, right? I mean, that's not that it matters. It does matter. But there's money and then there's legacy, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that anybody's going to keep Inoue out of the Hall of Fame. That's not what I'm saying at all. And I'm also not saying that Inoue doesn't deserve all of that credit. I am saying, though, that there is a narrative from American fans that is very biased. And we've seen it for decades, us doing this, right? I mean, there used to be a literal fight between those of us who have been watching the sport for a long time and know how crazy the UK fan base is and how awesome they support their people. And there used to be American fans calling in saying that no, American fans were the best fans. No, this was the place to have the real shows. Like, so I'm not trying to even debate that point. Absolutely, you're right. All I'm saying is that when you stay out of America, you oftentimes get forgotten. What was his name? The Puerto Rican minimum weight guy. Manny, you remember him? The Puerto Rican minimum weight guy? They used to get nothing but
you're talking about Ivan Calderon?
Ivan Calderon, thank you. Pound for pound, one of the greatest fighters of the last 30, 40 years. How many people remember his name?
I just remembered it right now. I just said it. No, but
I'm the one that forgot it.
No, what do you mean? No, what I'm that's not what I'm not going to do.
Apparently, you don't remember his name. You had to ask Peace out for it.
I know, right?
I just don't think people are going to forget Inoue's name. I just don't. No, because if this was the '80s, where there was no internet, no social media, no nothing, bro. I know people that know about Inoue. Like, it's just what it is. Like
an Inoue T-shirt, man.
I mean, I'm just saying, Calix. What round is the knockout going to happen? Get your crystal ball out. What round?
Crystal ball.
And if you had the power, you had the control. What would you like? Like, I'm giving you guys ultimate power here, and I'm getting like whatever. Like, Calix, you got the power. What does Inoue do next if it's up to you?
I got the power.
You got the power.
I like that. I like that. Y'all not giving Doheny a chance to see the final bell?
I'll bet you $100 then. I'll bet you $100 you don't make the final bell.
Here's some stats for you. Here's some stats. Inoue is a 50-1 favorite. He's up to 50-1. 50-1. 11-1 favorite to win by knockout. 11-1 favorite to win by knockout. But I'm going to give you some value here. You ready for this, Beeb? I'm going to give you some value. If you think Doheny has a chance to weather the initial storm and get to the second half of the fight, you can get 7 through 12 at plus 700. Plus 700. All he has to do is get to the 7th round, and you get that at plus 700. Wow. I got more value for you. 5 through 8 is sitting there pretty at plus 250. So all Doheny has to get, all TJ has to do is not be looking up at the ceiling in the first 4 rounds. And you got
good
some
luck at
value
that
there.
one.
I like 5 through 8.
I like 5 through 8.
I like
5
after
through 8.
7.
Nice.
If I'm gonna get that kind of money, I like after 7. I'm not saying again, it's the bet I would want to make 50-50, but that's
Let's
good
do 5
money
through
for
8,
that.
Mario. Let's
I don't
cash
like
it
it 50-50.
You wanna cash
either,
it,
but I
Mario?
like the
5 to 8.
value. And I think he's going to sleep early. I think this is going to happen early. But all I'm saying is, it's worth putting a little bit of money down. Look, 5 through 8 and
So,
7.
so
12.
if I bet
Good point.
$5 and Doheny wins, like man, I'm making a lot of money right
You're
there.
making a lot of money.
Seven
But you're
hundred.
also
but I'm also flushing down like $5.
You might as well light that on fire or flush it down the toilet. You're not
Get
going to
a
see
slice
that.
of pizza with that and a Coke.
Yeah, you're not going to see that back. And if you give me ultimate power, here's how I would play this. I think you do Akhmadaliev in December. If you can do that fight. If you're giving me ultimate power, and then the Junto fight would come next in April, May in Japan.
Yeah, I like that.
I would
That's a
do
good
Junto
schedule.
Nakatani at
That's a great
122.
schedule.
I don't think he needs to move up to 126. I think people are going to get impatient. I get it. But I think you stay put at 122 because there are two bigger name fighters that are going to move up pretty quick. And Junto, he's already busting at the seams at 118 from what I hear. I think you wait for that fight, Tokyo Dome, Japan, Inoue versus Junto, late 2025 at 122. And Bam's eventually going to make his way up there too.
You don't think he should ever go to 126? Or you think
No, I think he should make.
do the two fights. I like those two fights first too, though. I like that. That's a good schedule.
I think 2026 is the time to make the move to.
Gotcha.
He should wait.
I just think Don is going to be target practice right away, bro.
Oh,
like
no
I
doubt.
just don't. I'm
bet the 5 through 8, like Kalik said, man. He's on a streak.
I don't think he's going to make it to 5.
You gotta roll with the streaks.
Bro, I wouldn't be surprised if this shit ends in the first round, bro.
I like Danny Roman, but Danny Roman, who's not a puncher, dropped Doheny twice when they fought and nearly stopped him as well. And that was years ago also. That was like 5 years ago also. So
Danny Roman from Juarez,
He's
Mexico.
30. He's 37 now. He's 37, and Inoue is going to put him. It's going to be Beeb is going to be old Yeller style here. He's going to put the old man down. He's going to put him down. That's what's going to happen here. Old Yeller.
Oh man,
he's going to put him down.
So this could be over in 3 rounds.
You don't have to insult the guy. I mean, you know what I mean?
Congrats to
this
him.
This doesn't feel. I'm going to tell you guys right now. It doesn't feel
a
like,
little decorum, please.
Look, it doesn't feel like a fight. It just feels like some
it's a state business
sacrificial ritual.
This is like something you do to somebody that you don't like. You put them in there. Like if you don't like somebody, put them in there with Inoue for a couple rounds.
Inoue's got the best. He's got the best punch placement in the sport.
I'm gonna put money on 90 backs and take out Inoue.
When's the last time Inoue fought a southpaw? I feel like I remember it not that long ago.
It don't matter. This guy could be southpaw, conventional. He could be both. He could be.
I mean, listen.
He's gonna be looking up at the ceiling in the southpaw stance. Is what he's.
But can you make me $250?
To answer your question, like his last fight.
No, I'm wondering.
To answer your question, Mario, like Neri was a southpaw.
Neri was a southpaw. Okay. Oh, yes, the
That's
Neri
true.
fight. I forgot about the Neri. Oh, I didn't forget about it, but I was overlooked his southpaw. Yeah. So honestly, I don't even know if
Neri
it's
gave
worth
him
the
some
7.
issues. Neri gave him some issues early, but this ain't
Early.
Neri. He ain't Neri.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's kind of like the whole aspect of him. It's like the
Neri
punch
got power.
resistance
We
when it
knew
comes
that.
to Inoue is so big that it literally triumphs like styles and matchups and orthodox versus southpaw. Like none of that really factors in when you equate it to Inoue.
Right. Look, I don't know if he gave him issues. I just think
Junto. Junto's the only one who can do it. I'm just
all he did was
Man,
piss off
I
anyway and
hope
get
we
beat
get to
up.
see
I
that.
don't know. I wouldn't call it issues. I would just call it he got caught and he got up and beat the shit out of him for the rest of the fight. But that's what I would call it.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened.
But it is what it is.
Woke him up. Boom.
Yeah, he pissed him. He looked pissed off when he was like,
He was like super
loves that
pissed.
shit.
And
He's never
that's
been
the
tested
problem with
like
that
that.
guy is that you piss him off. He doesn't go
Yeah.
tit for tat. He's not just trying to get you back. He's
No.
trying to systematically.
he started
fucking
to
break you
embarrass
down.
him, and so maybe in this
exactly
fight
right.
he'll try to embarrass him and take it to the 5th or something. I don't
You
know.
touch him.
I know, right?
You touch him, and he gets more focused.
Yes.
You almost don't want to do it. You almost just want to coast. But
It's like prime Pacquiao.
off topic question, real quick though, who gives him the most problems at 126? I think it would be Espinosa.
Akhmadaliev.
That's what I think.
Spinoza.
Who?
At 126, if he moves up to 126, who would give him?
Oh,
the most problems?
126.
I think it would be Espinosa.
You know
You
what
guys
fight
don't
I'd
think
want to
Angelo
see?
Leo can make a fight out of it?
I was gonna say Leo. That's exactly what
I
I was
think
gonna
Leo
say.
would make
I
a fight
feel
out
like
of it.
Leo's a guy. Listen, when boxing, you have to look for two guys, right? You have to look for the guys who's historically.
I think he destroys
tame,
Leo.
But then you have to look at the guys who make real strides. You're not gonna look at Angelo Leo in that last fight and then look at the Fulton fight and say that this is the same guy. He is definitely gotten
the
better.
problem
and he's
is he knocks out Leo in like 6 rounds.
But
No, I think Leo takes him late. I think Leo takes him
120
late.
Yeah,
Leo's got a granite
126.
chin, guys. You got to realize he's tough. He's got a really good gas tank. That the Leo that fought Fulton, I've interviewed Leo. I know a lot of people close to Leo, and I know that wasn't the same Angelo Leo that we saw in the last fight. Leo's gotten much better. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. He's more hydrated. He's hungry. He's durable. He's tough. I'd pick Inoue to win for sure. Probably even stop Leo at some point, but I think it's going to be I would say it's definitely going to be tougher than the Fulton fight. It's definitely going to go into later rounds as well, in my opinion. I think Leo would give a good showing in defeat.
Okay. Well, we'll see, but ain't nobody going to pick on a win. I'll tell you that right now. Like, but
nobody picking anybody against Inoue.
But either way, we're going to proceed here. The WBO has ordered Crawford versus Fundora. Do you think this fight happens? And if so, how do you see the fight playing out, Calex?
Percent, I would say 40-60 right now, 40% chance. The only reason I say that, they're giving him 30 days, right? So that would come in after the Canelo fight with Berlanga, the king of Puerto Rico, Edgar Berlanga. And so to me, it seems like a lot of this is orchestrated by Mr. Turki Al-Sheikh from behind the scenes. He's moving everything carefully for Crawford at 154. But at the same time, he's trying to negotiate this big fight for Bud against Canelo. And Canelo says, come September 15th, I'll answer the phone call. Wait till then and I'll answer. So I think we're not going to hear anything now. They're going to give it some time, see if they can make the Canelo fight. If it looks like that's a non-starter, then I think that Fundora is a possibility. And I think it's a real possibility because it'll be for 3 belts. And I think Fundora is the best matchup for Bud out of the top names at 154.
You think it's going to happen, Max? And how do you see that fight playing out?
Yeah, so I actually really like the fight. My only gripe with the fight is my boy Tim Tszyu is just, not getting any opportunity at this weight class, unfortunately. As we all know, he's a better fighter than Fundora, and I'm very confident he'd probably stop him in a rematch. But we have to live with what we got. A split decision win for Sebastian Fundora, with Tim Tszyu's face being split apart from an elbow. So I have Crawford stopping Fundora when they fight, hypothetically. I like the fight. It's a unification. I like Crawford trying to build himself up at 154. I think a Canelo Alvarez fight is ridiculous, especially seeing that Crawford almost lost to Israel Madrimov. Now, what do you guys think what would happen if he fought Canelo? Canelo would decimate him. He'd stop him. It'd be a demolition. So I think this fight's a joke, Crawford versus Canelo. I understand Crawford wants it. I get it's a big money fight, but I don't want to see it at all. What Crawford should do is beat Fundora, go for the Virgil fight or Bohachuk or whatever fight opens up for a belt, keep getting these wins and try to become a 3-time undisputed champion and then retire. I think that would be a tremendous way for his career to end. And he would be one of the best fighters in modern history if he pulled that off.
Well, speaking of your boy Tim Tszyu, I mean, if he gets the IBF in October, then that could lead to an undisputed fight with Crawford.
Exactly, and that would be a great fight. I think Tim Tszyu would probably give Crawford the best fight of all the champions right now. Definitely would, I think. Out of the champions right now, I think so.
All right, okay. All right, and Mario Munguia, is this a fight that intrigues you? What do you make of this order by the WBO, and do you think it's going to happen?
Okay, so do I think it's gonna happen? No, I don't. I just don't get the feeling that this is where Crawford goes. I don't think he's scared. I don't think he's ducking. I don't think he's avoiding. I just think he's being very systematic with his career at this point. Actually, I don't think it's just happening. I think it's been happening. And if it weren't for Top Rank last year and if contract, we would have been seeing more of this. Look, I have some knowledge about the Earl Spence fight and how far or how serious that's actually, whether it's going to take place or not. And I just feel like if you're Terrence Crawford, you're not really worried about belts. I wish he would. Like Max said it pretty well there. He could finish his legacy out and going the route that Max laid out gives him the chance to fight for the idea of greatest welterweight or greatest fighter of all time, whatever you want to call it. I just don't think that's where he's at. I think he realizes at this stage of his career, you know, undisputed versus sharing the same ring with Canelo, which has more, which is more security for your future. As a fan, yeah, I don't want to pay for Crawford Canelo, but I also would rather not pay for Pacheco Canelo. So I know it could be worse, but at the end of the day, it's about Crawford essentially doing what he did and now getting his get back from boxing. It's the way Floyd Mayweather worked. It's the way Pacquiao worked. It's the way De La Hoya worked. Everybody down the line has done this. They've put in the hard work so they could be selective later on for their big money fights. And I just feel like Crawford at this point thinks that, or knows he deserves those huge fights, and he knows the route he wants to go. I just don't see Sebastian Fundora part of that. But I love the fight, though. I do. Man, I hope we get it.
Babe, same question to you, but I want to go this route too, because we've talked about this. What do you make? Crawford is a reigning champion right now with another sanctioned organization. The WBO is still hooking him up with this mandatory, right? What do you make of that? And it just seems like Paco just has it's not just Turkey. Like Paco really likes Crawford. Is a sense I've been getting for years now.
I agree. I think Paco's kind of like a surrogate for Crawford right now at this stage. I don't think there's any way Fundora fights Crawford next. I don't think Fundora wants that fight. I don't think his team wants that fight.
You think they'll drop the belts?
He'll drop he'll drop the WBO, but I think he'll keep the WBC.
I wonder if the WBC will force his hand too.
No, they won't. The WBC won't strip him. They'll do the Spence fight. I thought Spence was 100%. I was hearing rumblings that Spence was possibly going to retire. I don't even know how. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if Mario knows anything about that. I don't know if Mario knows anything about that, but I heard
no rumors out here in Dallas so far right now about retirement.
Yeah, so
my understanding he is
the thinking
come back
would be
154.
So they want the Fundora fight. I know that for sure. I know they want the Fundora fight 100%. How much he's thinking beyond that, I can't. I mean,
you guys think
Spence could beat Fundora. That's a very winnable fight for Spence. Is Fundora?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you guys,
what version of Spence we get in the ring though?
You think Spence will go through with it?
I do. Yeah. I think he wants that fight more than I don't know why he wants it so much, but he does want that fight.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I heard that rumblings about that, but I don't know. I don't know if Spence will ever be right again. Do you guys think Spence will be right again?
I think Fundora beats him. I think Fundora beats him, Beeb.
I think Fundora beats him too.
Listen, if we're saying that if Max is saying that the best version of Spence, right, if he can tap back into that, absolutely.
I would pick Spence.
But that's
Max, you like Spence?
Gotta be a big.
I don't even think Fundora's that good. I mean, the guy almost lost to Tim Tszyu, and Tim Tszyu lost like half of his blood in his body. He almost lost that fight.
So
I don't even know if Fundora is anything good. I mean, he got knocked out by Mendoza. I mean, he gets hit like crazy in every fight. The guys that he's beaten, I mean, if you look at his resume, the Lubin win is good, but aside from that, I mean, Fundora has never really impressed me at all. I think Spence even now could probably beat him.
Alone,
he had a very tough, like Ocampo gave him a run for his money. Fundora.
Then he went the distance with Ocampo, huh?
To y'all's point,
man, but you guys think Spence will be better at 150? Like, I don't know, man.
I think it's a 50-50 fight. I think Spence will be more hydrated. I think Spence will be much more hydrated. So I think even though he took a lot of punishment against Bud and he's been inactive and he's older, him being more hydrated will counteract it a little bit. And I think Spence is just such a naturally better fighter that unless the Crawford fight took everything out of him, I think he should still probably edge the fight out by a close decision.
He's going to go to the body.
Marex take everything out of him.
Spence is tough on the inside, and Fundora is not an elusive guy. So
that's true.
Yeah, but
that's true. Every Fundora fight's fought in close quarters. Every single one.
Yeah, he gets hit when he fights. He gets hit up close too.
Spence is a minus 225 favorite. So to y'all's point, he's the favorite.
Yeah,
he's a favorite. Yeah,
he's the favorite.
Right,
I got Madrimov beating both.
So go ahead and finish your top beef on the.
These guys convinced me that the Spence fight's happening, man. I'm going to listen to them. And
okay,
I don't know, man.
I agree. y'all
Even
talking
Boha
into it,
Chok too. Even Boha Chok too. The way he fought Virgil Ortiz.
Yeah, I
he's
think-
got.
Boha
a
Chok would
chance to-
destroy Fundora. He would destroy Fundora.
completely annihilate him.
I think
Completely.
Fundora will go with Spence next. Then you guys
Spence's
can.
eye might fall out. This is Margarito.
I'm so mad that
2.0.
Tim Zoo lost to Fundora.
His eye might fall out. I'm telling you,
Bro, I honestly, people were saying that 4 or 5 years ago. I was hearing people that know him, people that train along with him, that were saying he wasn't the same, that blah blah. And I thought it was all cap, but I'll be honest, like, bro, maybe car wrecks are a really hard thing to like kind of get over.
Fuck it, I'm taking Fundora. I'm taking Fundora. I don't care.
It's not
I'm
only
letting you
car
guys
wreck,
sway
it's
me.
the way
I'm
he's
not letting you guys
managing.
sway me. I'm taking Fundora.
Hell yeah,
I'm going
Manny. Hell yeah. Hey, I'm just
yeah.
raising the odds
Go
so I
my
can get it for
instinct.
myself.
Fly
No,
away out of
taking
your
the plus
car,
money.
Disrespect to
man.
Spence.
All right,
This guy's
so
this guy's
give me
been
the plus
through the
money.
meat grinder, man. He's been through the meat grinder. At some point, this guy just has to
Spence
falter.
is gonna win. Spence beats him.
Can I make one last point quickly?
He's
I
not- you're
just want to
already
quickly say,
lately. I'm going
I
with
told
Caleb.
everyone.
We're taking Fundora.
I told everyone years ago that 154 would become a great division. Just looking in the long run, we all knew Crawford would move up. We all knew Spence would move up. Ennis eventually moving up. Virgil, and then the guys already there like Madrimov. And it does make me happy to see how great of a weight class 154 has become. I mean, objectively, it's one of the best in boxing. You even got like Boha Chuk and Virgil and Lubin and Jesus Ramos.
Dreamov too, baby.
Yeah, well, obviously these are guys that we're not even bringing up, and it's a great weight. I think they should make they should make a tournament. World Boxing Super Series should come back.
Look
for
at
this.
154.
One at a time.
Max, you think Madrimov's the second best fighter at 154 right now?
He might be. Objectively, he really might be. To be honest, he's top three. I think Tim Zoo might, like at his best, healthy, might be the only other guy. I would pick Madrimov to beat Virgil. I've always said this. I think he would beat Virgil.
Would you pick him to beat? So you think Zoo could probably beat Madrimov then?
Oh yeah.
No, I don't know. I need to see how Zoo looks coming back after that last fight. But I think that's aside from Crawford, I think Tim Zoo is the only guy that could possibly beat Madrimov. I mean, obviously other guys could possibly beat him, but to where I would really consider it, you know?
Crawford, Crawford, Madrimov, and Zoo, like it's Madrimov and Zoo are like right neck and neck.
All I'll say is this: when it comes to Fundora, Zoo was easily beat. I cannot stress how easily he was beating the shit out of him.
He would kill him in a rematch. Does anyone here think that Fundora would beat Tim Zoo in a rematch?
Only people that don't like Tim Zoo are going out saying, "Oh, it wouldn't have mattered anyway." You're a bunch of fucking haters, and you know you are.
Am I crazy to say that Tim Zoo arguably still won the fight? Like, you can argue he deserved the nod anyways. It was still a close fight.
He did deserve it, but
let's keep it moving here. Manny, Crawford, Fundora. Do you think this fight happens, brother?
I hope not. But when you think about it, what's the ultimate goal of Crawford right now at this particular time? You know, is he in money? There's not going to be a lot of fights in money right now. It's just capture belts, and so if you get 2 for 1. That'll be it. Then all you have to do is you got one more to become undisputed. And just like Max said, that's legacy. Another division to be undisputed. Why not? Right? So totally agree, man. 154 has been stacked. I'm glad we're not fucking talking about Charlo 154. It's just amazing the fact that seeing that, and you got so many prospects. Well, the contenders now, they're not prospect and Ramos and Sander Sayas. I feel bad for them because right now they're going to be very difficult for them to match even against Virgil or match up even the weakest from the top ones right now, which a lot of people think of Virgil, especially from the last fight. And I think he did great in that last fight. I think Virgil that's his second fight at 154. All right. And I think that right now, for me, I would have loved to see give him a chance against Crawford. I'd like to see that fight better, but at the same time, what's in it? I think it'll attract more people, but there's belts in the middle that might get Crawford's attention. Plus, on the side of it, it's probably an easier fight for Crawford right now, especially the way he looked in his last fight. He didn't look that great for whatever reason, right? So right now, Fundora, it makes sense when it comes from a business standpoint, but for belts and coming back from a horrible fight night, I mean, everyone's got an odd night, and I think that night was Crawford. A lot of people thought he was going to knock him out, and it didn't happen. It just didn't look good. But right now, having a Fundora fight makes sense for him. Is it going to happen? I'm not sure. Someone said, I think it was Max or someone said that after September 14, after Berlanga fight, this is where we're going to find out a lot of things, right? And I'm pretty sure that, everyone's got Canelo to win in that. I got to support my boy regardless of, how it is. I have to, but we all know what might happen in there. And if Canelo wins that fight, they're going to start talks about those things, and money talks. I don't see that fight being. It's going to be interesting, Crawford and Canelo. But keep in mind, guys, 2 divisions moving up. We saw the Charlo doing that. I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? But there's money involving there. And after Canelo fights Berlanga, what else is for Canelo? There's nothing else.
Billy, Eubank Jr.
Billy, but he's not going to fight him, Billy. I mean, he's not going to fight
Eubank Jr. He's going to fight Eubank Jr.
That's probably the fight they're going to make.
He
That's
rather fights.
they're gonna
He
make.
rather, and Canelo is not going to rest in peace until he gets a rematch against Bivol. He is going to get a rematch again, whether he beats Bertobie or whether he loses against Bertobie. He eventually, I see the fight against Bivol before even Benavidez. That's the way I see it. The way Canelo is and his ego and the way he lost that fight, he wanted an immediate rematch. And his team said, no, hold back. Hold on a second. You got other things to take care of right now.
You know what it is? Canelo is just terrified of Benavidez. That's the problem. For years, this guy just has wanted no work of Benavidez. Benavidez has beat everyone in his way. He's beat Plant and Andrade. I mean, Canelo Alvarez says he doesn't deserve it, but he's given Berlanga a fight. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, but
to the point of the question, I think right now, Crawford will be a good
title on the scales and he failed for a drug test.
I just want to say, speaking of 154, that Buhachik would beat Madrimov.
Buhachik.
That would be a really good. I don't know about that. I disagree.
I don't know about that, Kelly. I don't know about that.
Wow, that'd be a great fight, though. That'd be a great fight.
Favorite 154.
I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better. Jaron Ennis would knock out Buhachik if he moved up.
Not so fast. Not so fast.
That's an interesting fight for sure. We're going to get the boots in a little bit, but just to get my thoughts on this, as far as Crawford Fundora, you know what I find interesting is both guys obviously look, at least it appears, that they have different plans. Crawford's made it clear, even Turkey saying, I don't know if Crawford's going to do any other fight other than Canelo. Obviously, Fundora's trying to do a Spence fight. They got other plans, yet Paco has no problems ordering this fight. Right?
You hate Paco.
But here's I don't want to lose my train of thoughts really quick. As far as when it comes to Paco, so why didn't you just order the Ortiz fights back in 147? Why were you asking Ortiz behind the scenes if he wanted to be the mandatory? Oh, I asked them and they said no. Who said no? The Golden Boy said no. Was there an offer made? What was the money? What was involved in this? Did he tell them to negotiate? What happened? Because you're not doing that here. You're not asking Crawford, hey, Crawford, do you want your title shot? No, you're ordering the fight. So, I just want some consistency from Paco. That's all I want. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know.
Keep in mind, he's been a WBO champion since 140, 147, right? Except 154, right? And so he's been in every year at the convention in Puerto Rico. He's been there. So they know him. They like him. He's always liked them. And you're absolutely right. So give him a chance to give him an opportunity like that. Why not? He's the most exciting fighter right now after Inoue. No questions asked. So
and he was WBO champ 135 too. In the beginning of his career back in 2014, 2015.
His first belt at 135 was the WBO title.
Yep.
And here's
then it was 140. Then at 147, his first belt was WBO. He's got a history with Paco, man.
Yep.
They
love him. Puerto Ricans love him too. He's got a big base fan now.
Yeah. But let's proceed here. Mario, I know you gotta go. So really quick, Zhang Bakole, reportedly Turkey wants that fight in Africa or China. Do you like that fight? And who do you think? Would you rather have it in China or in Africa, and who wins?
I love that fight. Africa, I guess, because no, you know what, Zhang? I feel like he's got the momentum in there. I love the fight. Listen, it has been so much fun to just see heavyweights go at it. Does it suck to lose Deontay Wilder as an illustrious name, or some of the other guys that have suffered, losses? What's his name? Anderson, homeboy, from Top Rank. Yes, it sucks, right? But you know what it does? It makes it interesting. The boxing landscape when heavyweight was coming back, right? Because we've all been on YouTube long enough that we remember the Klitschko era, and we know what it was like for fans during that heavyweight era. It just wasn't talked about. That's it. We just never talked about the heavyweights. Welterweights, Mayweather, Pacquiao, Canelo, on and on. Sure, never talked about the heavyweights. Now the heavyweights come up, but let's go back to why that was the case. It wasn't just because we thought that the best people were Fury, Wilder, and AJ, and we wanted to see them fight, or Usyk. No, that's not what happened. What happened was Usyk built himself up as a legitimate cruiserweight, unifying, and he took other fights against solid competition. By the way, one of those guys that he had a tough win against just redeemed himself a few weeks ago. So that's the point of this heavyweight division, that it's so big and it's so different from all the other divisions in the sense that the best fighter usually comes out the winner, whereas in heavyweight, that X factor of the power still exists. No matter what round it is, no matter what fighters they are, they're still big enough to make damage that not only has an impact on their opponent in the ring, but it has an impact on casual fans when they're watching it later on ESPN on Friday night or Saturday night. So I love it. I hope they keep making these fights. I'm going to keep telling my friends who have left boxing to watch these kinds of fights, because these are the fights that are going to bring fans back to the sport of boxing. And real quick, I'm just going to do my sign out. Shout out everybody on the panel. Y'all were great. Shout out to the community in the live chat. Awesome as usual. Infighting Hub on YouTube, and at Infighting Pod on everywhere else, at Mario Mugia on Twitter and everything else. D, appreciate it. Everybody, Cal, Manny, Max, Beeb, love you as always. Peace, guys.
Sounds good, brother. Have a good one.
God bless.
The one and the only Mario Munguia. Joe Beeb, Zhang Bakole. Who do you like in that fight? And would you rather it be in Africa or China?
I like Zhang. I like the counterpunching abilities. I think Zhang, they both got power, but Zhang's a little bit more of the sharper puncher. He's more accurate, a little more defensive. I think that fight would be good in China. I think Zhang is definitely due a fight in China. This guy's had some big wins, been in some great fights. Even the Parker fight that he lost, it was still a very entertaining fight, competitive fight. I like Zhang, and I like it in China.
Okay, all right. Mighty Max, what do you think of that matchup? And like, who do you think would win? And do you like it in China or Africa? Somewhere in Africa.
Big fan of the fight. Seems like Zhang Zhang is fighting the best opposition at heavyweight when you don't consider Usyk or Fury or maybe no, I would say his opposition's been better than AJ as well. His opposition's been absolutely tremendous as of late, and I'm picking him to win this fight as well. Bakole has surprised me a few times though. I picked Tony Yoka to beat him. I was wrong. I picked Jared Anderson to beat him. I was wrong. So Bakole has proven me wrong before, and I wouldn't be completely shocked if he proved me wrong again. But stylistically, I have Zhang Zhang winning by knockout. I'm pretty shocked in hindsight that Joseph Parker beat him. The more I think about it, I think that's such a great win for Parker, because I really didn't expect him to get the job done, especially if him getting hurt and dropped in that fight. When it comes to location, I would probably prefer to see it in Africa. I think it'd be interesting in Africa. We haven't really gotten a huge event over there, and I think it'd be more fun over there. I think it would be more unique. It would be an interesting situation to have it in Africa. It'd just be really cool and different. And I'm sure a lot of fighters would also love to fight on the card as well. So it'd be a very interesting event. But I have Zhang winning probably by a later round KO in a really good fight.
Okay, all right. Bakole, I saw him get like a home hero's welcome when he went over there. It was amazing. Manny Marrero, what do you think of the matchup, and what would you rather see the fight?
I like it, man. I think these two fighters are really good. I actually was wrong with Jared Anderson. I thought that Jared would do a whole lot better than what he did, and then he just came in prepared. And so, being a huge mass fan of Zhang, he did disappointed me a couple of times, made me lose some money too as well. But you know what? He has recovered himself, especially in a division that I just don't see him fighting Usyk or anytime soon, which is the undisputed champion. But fights like this is what people really wanted. This is just big guys, and Your Excellency, man, he's bringing back the heavyweights like they were in the past. And so either or, as it pertains to a location, either or. But I want to go see him up there in Rajit. I want to see him up there. But the same as Max, yes, we have not seen a big fight in Africa for quite some time, and I think this will bring a lot of excitement down there, a lot of fan base. When it comes to money-wise, it might not make sense neither, but if you have to pick, a good destination for it to have its value, then China might be a little bit better. But yeah, definitely Africa. Bring these out there, build that boxing, legacy out there. Muhammad Ali was out there and doing his thing, and caring for people, and then bringing the sport action to the sport down there. So why not? Why not now that they have someone out there that is made a statement, and a lot of people consider Jared Anderson as the next, American best heavyweight. There goes the Anderson.
All right, Manny Mumbai.
Manny.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. All right, Calix, what do you think of this fight? Who do you think wins? And would you rather it be in China or somewhere, maybe in the Congo or like somewhere in Africa?
No brainer of a fight. It will be a bloodbath. Two big heavyweights who want to knock each other out. I'd price it at about 2-1 Zhang, but I think it's actually going to be the opposite because the trend is in the last 5 fights that Zhang is the underdog and he overperforms because he was the underdog against Hrgovic. He was the underdog against Joyce. He was the underdog against Joyce in the rematch, even after knocking him out. I remember having that conversation with you and getting plus money on Zhang. It was easy money. I believe he was underdog. He may have been a slight favorite against Parker, but he was the underdog once again against Wilder. So the trend is that he's the underdog and he overperforms. And I expect the same here. I don't know what it's going to be priced at, but I think that Zhang beats him. As far as where the fight happens, I don't really care. 2 heavyweights who want to knock each other out, they can put that in Antarctica. I don't care. Just make the fight happen. So China, Africa, don't matter to me. I tend to think they'll put it in China though.
That guy, you can't go wrong with either one of those. That's for sure. And I do like this fight. This is a great fight, and I do believe the winner of that fight should get the title shot. Like I think at that point. So man, what a fight!
I want to see the winner fight the winner of AJ Dubois.
That's what I want to. I want the
That'd be fun.
AJ.
Yeah, but if AJ wins and Usyk wins, they might do a trilogy, right?
Yeah, but Usyk's 2-0. I hope they don't do. I think Usyk's gonna retire if he beats Fury. To be honest.
Well, he said he'll do it. Their fight.
I bet he will.
I mean, it doesn't mean he'll do it, but
we'll see if AJ gets past Dubois. I mean, I'm picking him to, but you never know, right? It's a heavyweight division.
No, that's true. And one thing I've noticed about Turkey, he loves heavyweights. I mean, like he loves heavyweights. Like that's 100%.
He started with the heavyweights out there.
Yeah.
He still has heavyweights. Like a whole card was all heavyweights at one point.
Yeah. 100%. We'll end it with this topic. Boots, should it remain at 147 pounds? Maybe try to unify. There's been a lot of talk about other opponents there. Rumors that they're turning down the fight, but the Norman came out and said, no, we didn't turn anything down. Like they said they would rather wait. So who knows who to believe in these situations, or should Boots, and I know Max even mentioned like he could move up and knock out Bohachuk, right? You know what I mean? Like, should Boots just like 154 is hot. It's a hot division. You already became world champion at 147. Move up and get in the mix because the mix is hot right now, 154. What should he do? All right, Manny, to start with you.
I think he should stay right now and let 154 start settling a little bit more. Stay 147, defend your title, get unification. I mean, you were lucky that they stripped out Crawford out of that. So why don't you just make a statement out there? Unless you can't make the weight, which I doubt. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna be in the ocean with a bunch of fishes right now. There's a lot of top. We talked about him, a few minutes ago about the 154. Right now, it's Boots Ines and who else out there, right? So I think he can definitely go and unify it, and he can take either of the guys. I mean, even Barrios, just got the WBC from Brian Norman, and the one that I really want to see is Stanionis. Stanionis is being a victim of cancellations of fights, especially against Virgil Ortiz, and Stanionis is due for a major fight. Why don't we make that fight happen, right? And so for me, it's like, hey, stay there, right? Get unification. Stanionis, what is it? He's a regular Reggie WBA, but and I think Crawford still has the WBA for 147. He still owns that. I don't know. I mean, he'll probably get stripped too again.
I think they stripped him.
They stripped him too.
I think
so just get a unification. Watch from the distance. I'm not saying Boots is can't be part of that massive fighters that are at 154. Keep in mind, Boots looked a little bit shaky a couple of fights ago. And so unless he can't make the weight, just stay there, keep building yourself up. And then when the time is right, 154, here comes the money. But right now, he's probably more about the money than the belts. But just stay put. Because he's got a lot of more potential 147 right now than being in 154.
All right. Okay. Calix, I mean, do you think Boots is moving right now? Like, I know you and I both like the move to Matchroom and the card over there, but as of right now, stay it for a little bit. Just go to 154 now. What would you do with your Boots?
Yeah, and I've been saying, you heard me say this for a while, that he has to either go the Golovkin route or the Paul Williams route. Paul Williams just moved up. He said, I'm not going to wait around for the fights. What Golovkin did, the underrated thing that he did was top guy up, whatever we can get, stay on our dates and fight 3 times per year. And he's going to have to take that route, man. Like you can't just sit around and fight twice per year. If you're fighting that level of competition, nobody comes to the table. So Eddie Hearn is on Twitter in the recent, like maybe an hour ago, saying they offered Norman Jr. $1.5 million, which is 15 times what he made in his last fight. He made $100,000 in his last fight. So if guys are turning down that type of money, and that could be cap, we don't know. But if guys are turning down over $1 million when they made $100,000 in their last fight, then that tells us they don't really want that fight. Does Matteo Barrios want that fight, or would he rather fight Manny Pacquiao? I just don't see the guys. Stanionis, do these guys still want that fight? And if nothing's shaking out at 147, I wonder, what are they waiting around for? Do they move to 154? It's just going to be, not much has changed. It's going to be tough sledding at 147. I was hoping that after he got hit a little bit in his last fight against Avanesyan, that maybe some guys will come to the table. It's still not happening. So I just hope whatever they do, they fight pretty soon.
All right. Babe, should I stick around, let Eddie try to make these fights happen, or just move up because it's hot at 154 right now?
I've been saying that he should go to 154. And I remember he was on the 3 knockdown rule with Steve Kim and Mario Lopez. And he was telling them that the weight cut wasn't easy. I'm not saying he can't make the weight, but it's not an easy cut for him. He's like 5'10", 5'11". He's a big dude, bro. I think he'd be even better at 154. So the money's up there. There's not really a big money fight for him at 147. I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to unify all the belts. And by that time, he's probably going to be busting out at the seams anyways. Don't make the same mistake Spence did by staying at one weight class too long, man, because eventually it's going to catch up to you. So you might as well just go up to 154. I mean, it checks off all the boxes, right? You got the big names up there. You got the big fights. And everyone will probably want to fight you. They probably want to fight you. So that's what I think you should do. And plus, you got Eddie up there, too. You got Eddie. You got Turki Al-Sheikh, who works with the zone, and Eddie, and he give you that push, right? So that's what I see.
Mighty Max, what do you think Butch should do here? I mean, at this point.
So I've got a pretty strong stance on this, and what I'll say simply put is 147 is the weakest weight class in the sport, arguably, right now. I would definitely say it's the weakest prime weight class in the sport, bar none. I mean, everyone's asking for a Brian Norman fight. I'll be honest. Would Brian Norman even beat Erickson Lubin at 154? I mean, no one really wants to see him fight Brian Norman. We all know the outcome of that fight. Stanionis is a nice little name, but Mario Barrios, that's an absolute mismatch. Come on. Does anyone give Barrios any shot? I mean, I understand. I made a video on this, actually, and I said, if Ennis stays at 147, the only condition he should stay at 147 is if every title fight is available to him immediately. If he has to fight Karen again, a fight that no one wants to see. I mean, all 3 judges scored that fight 120 to 108. When's the last time you guys saw a rematch that was from a fight that was that wide? It must have been when Wilder rematched Bermain Stavern years ago. So there's nothing for him at 147. Move up to 154. I understand there's a lot of tough opponents there, and it's a very, flustered weight class because there's so many elite names. But even if he fights one of the weaker elite names like Erickson Lubin or someone in that range, it's still a solid opponent. I mean, I can't really imagine anyone, jumping up and down for an Israel Madrimov fight right now, or jumping up and down for a Sergey Bohachuk fight right now. So if I'm Ennis, I'm moving up in weight. If I can't get a title shot, I'm aiming for Madrimov, I'm aiming for Bohachuk, or I'm aiming for Lubin. And I think he gets past those guys, he can actually realistically get a Crawford fight. I mean, we can't say Inoue has to move up in weight, but Ennis doesn't have to. You know what I mean? There's more for Inoue in his weight class than there is for Ennis at his, in my opinion.
Okay. Now I will say, Max, 160 is actually worse than 147, in my opinion. But
Oh yeah, 160 is terrible. But the only thing I like about 160 more than 147 is it's less predictable. I mean, the fights are more competitive because they don't have a guy dominant like Ennis. You know what I mean? Like Janabek versus Adames is like a fun fight, you know. But I agree,
Shiraz is good,
160 is trash too.
You got Shiraz up there at 162, so.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I like Shiraz as well. He's solid.
I would argue 160 is better than 147 right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you get rid of Duran Ennis, it's by far better. The only thing that makes 147 more of an interesting weight is because Ennis is such a talent. But when it comes to competitiveness, does anyone give Boots a good fight aside from maybe Stanionis? I mean, I think Ennis walks through all these guys, and I think 154 is where he'll really have an opportunity to show if he's on that level or not. And I think he will. I don't think he beats Crawford, but I think aside from Crawford and maybe Madrimov, I think that's a weight class he'd probably walk through all these guys.
Yeah, like it is kind of sad that we're talking this way. We're debating which is worse, 147 or like welterweight or middleweight, and these are two very historical weight classes.
Glamour divisions.
Absolutely.
Two glamour divisions.
Best
yeah,
divisions
like,
for welterweight took over the heavyweights for years.
You know, I was telling Calix earlier, like the analogy, it's like the two homes that like used to be great homes, and then now they're like lowering the value of the homes in the neighborhood. Like,
Well,
I mean,
I had a feeling this would happen because if you look, as I mentioned previously, if you look years ago, 147 was a great weight, but you could tell that 154 was about to become greater because we all knew Virgil was going to leave 147. We know Boots is leaving relatively soon. You know, Crawford moved up, Spence moved up, all the other good names at 147 are retired. So I had a feeling 154 would be that new weight class. And it's kind of funny that 154 is actually in between the two weakest weight classes in boxing. Maybe if a couple of guys were down and a couple of guys were up, 160 and 147 would still be very strong weight classes, but they all met in the middle of 154, making it even better for the fans. So maybe we can get a little tournament at the weight class if Turkey knows, you know, the right idea for the fans.
Now, Mighty Max, you said something earlier, and I just want to kind of have like an open dialogue, and anybody could kind of jump in. Something you said, not about Boots, but about Canelo, and I appreciate anybody that comes in and speaks their mind and has a difference of opinion. But it was a very strong thing you said. You said Canelo is terrified of Benavidez. And you explained why. And now I agree with a lot of things you said. I do agree with you that David Benavidez has basically done everything that people always say, like hey, don't wait around for Canelo, go do something. And that's what he did. He went ahead and he kind of cleared the path and made it. He head and shoulders is the top guy in the division that Canelo should fight. But like, when you say, do you want to clarify? Like, are you saying Canelo really is like terrified? Like he's scared of David Benavidez?
So I wouldn't say it in a way where he's like scared that Benavidez is going to hurt him and he's like fearful of him. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say he's scared of him the way that, you know, someone would be scared of someone hurting them. But I say Canelo is scared of Benavidez because it's the worst possible fight for Canelo when you consider where Benavidez is ranked, his age, and also what the outcome would be. You know, losing to Bivol, losing to Beterbiev, you could say, oh, I moved up to 175 and fought pound for pound level champions and lost. That's understandable. You know, not too many people were too hard on him when he lost to Bivol. If he loses to Benavidez, that's the first time he's lost to someone under 175 in a long time. It's also a young fighter, and it's also someone without a belt. So I think business-wise, Canelo Alvarez is terrified of losing to David Benavidez because if he loses to Benavidez, what's the excuse? You know what I mean? Maybe you could say Canelo was too old, but there really isn't a preconceived excuse if he loses to Benavidez. While the Bivol loss, he was moving up in weight, you know? So I think in that aspect. And also, I've never seen Canelo Alvarez avoid a fighter the way he's avoided Benavidez when it comes to just logic. I mean, logically, after he beat Caleb Plant, the only fight that made sense for Canelo was David Benavidez. And I'm trying to think, who did he fight in September of 23 instead of Benavidez? Was it Charlo? He fought Jermel Charlo, that absolute disgrace of a fight that no one wanted. And the other rumored opponent was Jermall Charlo. That's the other guy he was supposed to fight. Why would you fight Jermall Charlo or Jermel Charlo, not Benavidez? That makes no sense. And then after that, Canelo Alvarez fought Munguia. Listen, I like Munguia as a good, solid name, and I understand Benavidez did move up in weight, but the reason he moved up is because the Canelo fight wasn't happening. But no one wanted Munguia over Benavidez. Benavidez would demolish Munguia. So it made no sense. This guy beat Caleb Plant. And then Demetrius Andrade, a guy that some people claimed Canelo ducked, but I never claimed that. Demetrius Andrade versus Benavidez. This is a fight where it's a good test. We'll see if Benavidez is on that level. He passes with flying colors. And how he gets rewarded is no Canelo Alvarez fight. So I think Canelo Alvarez has made it very clear that's not the fight he's wanted. He's never given a valid excuse for not taking it, and I've stuck with this opinion for a good amount of time, and Canelo Alvarez still hasn't proven me wrong, so I'm going to stick with it.
Man, anybody have anything to add?
I mean, I would not really, but I would just say we could talk about Benavidez's team, the broken ribs, all that stuff, right? They're a team run by mental midgets, and they haven't made things easier for themselves. However, you and I have talked about how perception is everything, right? And if you're the A side, unless you're Tank Davis, if you're the A side, you're expected to be the one to make the fight, right? And the A side is generally the one who is going to take the blame if the fight doesn't happen. The only two examples I could think of where that's not the case was when Floyd was filibustering with the Pacquiao fight, and the same thing with Tank Davis at 135. But for Canelo, if the fight doesn't happen, perception is his fault, and that's what people are going to have to live with.
Can I add something really quickly also? I find it kind of interesting how Canelo Alvarez is, breaking down Benavidez's fight against Gvozdyk and criticizing him when Gvozdyk was literally your training partner. And keep in mind, Gvozdyk was a super respected fighter at light heavyweight. I mean, I remember picking Gvozdyk to beat Beterbiev, getting that one wrong. But as we all saw, Gvozdyk did make a fight of it and was actually, I believe, the slight betting favorite, or the odds were like pretty much dead even. Canelo Alvarez is trashing on Benavidez's performance against Gvozdyk, which was, we all knew would be a tough fight stylistically, and is also your training partner, a guy that you've been training and working with, and you're going to trash on him for winning 9 out of the 12 rounds and winning a comfortable decision. I mean, I just don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't even know. I think Canelo Alvarez would have a tough fight with Gvozdyk at 175 as well, by the way.
Very interesting. What I'll say is this. Look, I always said it's going to be very hard for Canelo to explain why the Benavidez fight isn't happening. Right? I've always said that. Because that is the right fight to make in that weight class, because it's 1 and 2. Like, we put everything aside, it's 1 and 2 in the division. So it should happen, right? And I also don't like the language Canelo's used in terms of what does he bring? He only brings 25 pounds, or like, I never liked that. But what I will say is this: like, David's team has, like, I do question sometimes some of their moves. Like, like, why would you announce that you already had multiple fights, with other fighters when Canelo was going to go to PBC? Why did they keep changing their stories? Like, David's dad was on one hand trying to shame Canelo take the fight, and then he would change his demeanor depending on who's interviewing him. And I never understood the way they moved. I never understood, like Samson's movements never made sense to me. And I don't know. Like, I question, does Al Heyman want this fight? You think Al Heyman wants this fight?
I also think it's a little foolish for him to be moving up now. I mean, I think if he stayed at the weight just a little bit longer, Canelo Alvarez would really have been cornered to taking the Benavidez fight. But because he rushed and moved up in weight, I mean, he's moving up to 175 for what? You're not fighting Beterbiev next or Bivol next. Why not just wait a little longer until that fight's over? So I agree. Benavidez hasn't been innocent either, but obviously the blame still goes on Canelo.
And why not? And I understand that the sanctioning body only has so much control, especially over Canelo. Canelo could just drop the belt if he wants, but we also got to put something on Suleiman here for not ordering the fight, number one. Like,
for sure.
And second, what about Benavidez's team? Why didn't they push for the fight to get, to get ordered? Like, I never saw any push from them and a threat to sue them. Nothing, quite frankly. Like,
well, I think also at the same time, it's hard to have that type of power against someone like Canelo, like threatening to sue and trying to pressure them into making the fight. They're always going to take Canelo's side as he brings in more money. And you got to remember also, when they stripped Benavidez back in 2020, when Canelo and Callum Smith got made, they made sure to throw their belt in there and make it for the WBC as well. So there's been very clear favoritism in favor of Canelo from Suleiman for a very long time. And the Benavidez fiasco is more proof of that. But I do agree, there is more Benavidez's team could have done, and I don't think they've been super strategic when it comes to making the fight, but I still believe that if it was up to Canelo Alvarez, he would definitely not fight David Benavidez anytime soon.
And I think they both team got fed up. They're both teams. They do have a lot of ego, and obviously in Canelo's roadmap when he moved up to 168, Benavidez was still a champion. He had Benavidez to fight him to eventually, get the undisputed. He got stripped out of the bed. He used the drugs and couldn't make the weight. Essentially, that's the ultimate thing. I just don't think Benavidez can make the weight right now, 168. I just think he's better at 175, and I think he wants to explore something different rather than keep waiting for someone that is not going to bring anything to him at this particular time. Because I think he acknowledged that. I think he acknowledged that, you know what? Canelo's got his own game plan, and I'm not part of that. Let me just conquer something different. Maybe I go up at 175 and I get a chance, an opportunity to maybe that'll attract, a Canelo fight. It's never been about the money, according to Benavidez Sr. When we talk to him, he says it's not about the money. It's about us fighting the best fighters at 168. That was at that time, right? But if you're gonna still hold back, just waiting, I think he should have waited a little bit, because instead of Berlanga, he could have fought right. He could have fought right now Benavidez this September. But they got fed up, made a decision, and we got to act right now. He's young, but still, 168's been very difficult for him to make that fight. In the last few fights, he put up a lot. And so being at 175, he looked good. He doesn't have to struggle a lot with the weight. And guess what? Come get me if you want. I'll get him. I'll try to get a belt. That way it'll interest you back again. But this is why I keep telling people, I don't think that fight's going to happen. And I think Canelo really scratched that out of his plan. And once Canelo says something, he's not going to go back to that. It's just a lot of ego between those two teams.
And look, obviously, I have a lot of my own opinions on this, and we've had plenty of roundtables, and I just wanted Max to elaborate and give his opinion, because at the end of the day, the whole point of these roundtables is to bring different opinions. And
I love to. I've actually enjoyed being on here a lot. My phone's actually at 2%, and I'm outside right now, so I'm gonna have to call it a night. But thank you once again so much for having me on. I love coming on here, and whenever you want me on again, let me know, and I'll definitely be more than willing to.
For sure. Well, that is the end of the show, either way. So I want to thank Mighty Max. Make sure you subscribe to his channel, guys. Make sure you subscribe to everybody. And this is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. We're out of here.
Vivo.
Peace.
Adios.